Good morning, everybody. Dan here from Headwaters Kayak, and I'm out here at beautiful Whiskeytown Lake today. And behind me, I've got my brand new mango-colored Eddyline Sitka XT. Now, somebody asked me in the comments if I had reviewed this kayak before, and I actually said yes. You just got to go back and find it. I did the homework for myself, and turns out I've actually never reviewed the Sitka XT, which is ironic because this is a boat I've spent more time in the past 10 years than any other kayak. So today, I'm going to take one of my favorite boats of all time out, take you on one of my favorite paddles of all time, and show you guys around, tell you what I think about the new Sitka XT. So for 2025, there's only going to be two noticeable changes to the Sitka XT, and that is new color options. It's going to come in this mango, teal, white, and sapphire blue, which is a carry forward color. The other thing is they added an additional support knob on the back of the seat. One of the problems that this boat's had over the years is that the seat creaks and can tend to slide if you're pushing hard on the pedals during a roll or something. So they took care of that on this new boat, and basically, other than that, the boat remains unchanged, which is okay by me because I think the Sitka XT is one of the better all-around big guy touring kayaks on the market right now. It's fairly lightweight. You know, where I paddle here is a long carry up from the highway. I don't mind shouldering this thing. You know, it's under 50 pounds. It's big enough and roomy enough for me at 6'2" to have lots of leg room, lots of support. Also, if I want to bring some camping gear with me or an overnight kit, I have plenty of room for that in the boat as well. And my favorite part about the Sitka XT is this cockpit. It's got a big, roomy, deep cockpit. You can see the volume of that boat there. So at 6'2", 220 pounds, I've got lots of room to move around, and I never get stiff or sore in this kayak. One other thing I want to start mentioning in videos is just what am I wearing? It's December, it's about 54 degrees outside, but the water is even colder. And what I wear is a two-piece suit from Level 6. It's a Level 6 breakwater bibs on the bottom. So waterproof feet, these go up to my chest and over my shoulders. And then a Level 6 Juno paddling jacket that has latex wrist gaskets. And then an open collar so I can open this up and get some breathability. Also, if I get hot and say it gets to 60 degrees today, this is a top that I can pull off, stick in a dry hatch, and I just have a wool layer underneath to keep me warm, even if it gets a little wet. So it's wild to me that this is the first time I've talked about the Sitka XT in an actual review. I'm sure I've referred to it a lot, which kind of blows my mind because over the last 10 years since this boat came out, it was originally called the Denali, and that came out, I want to say it was 2014 when the Denali first came out, and then they eventually renamed it the Sitka XT as a part of a family. But I've been paddling this boat on and off ever since it came out. I got my ACA Level 3 in this boat. I've just really spent a ton of time in it. For one boat that does everything really, really well and is super comfortable, I can't think of a better one. It's short enough that when I put it on an edge, it's easy to get it to turn. It holds the edge really, really well. Strong secondary stability with that hard chine. It's speedy enough. It's got good acceleration, holds speed well, and also just plenty of room. I think that's the biggest reason I paddle so much is because as I've gotten older, comfort's probably my #1 priority. My hips after, you know, a couple hours, I want to get out of the boat. This boat just allows me to stay in a little bit longer. In some ways, I might be a better fit in the LT. I really like the way the Sitka LT paddles as well. But at hour 2, the Sitka LT starts to feel really tight. I feel pressure on that left hip. So I just prefer the XT. And as I look around this lake, I am literally the only person out here. In summertime, you couldn't even get to these beaches. But come here in the wintertime, you'll have the whole place to yourself, which is just the way I like it. A question I got recently is, why do I pick the Sitka XT over the Fathom? And I thought that was a really good question because I used to paddle a Fathom. The Fathom in theory is narrower, sleeker, faster. You know, some would say higher performance, but it really depends on the water type. And I think the biggest reason is the maneuverability and playfulness of this kayak. It's a little bit shorter, a little bit wider, and more responsive to an edge. So when I put it on an edge and give it a sweep stroke, this boat comes around a lot faster than an Eddyline Fathom would. Eddyline Fathom, I think, is 2 inches narrower. So you still have a predictable edge, but it's not as solid, it's not as stable as the Sitka XT. And not that I need the extra stability, but I just prefer that extra volume on the edge when I'm edging and steering the boat. And if you notice the way I paddle, it's not a lot of high speed, straight ahead, covering distance of miles. I'm the kind of guy that likes to tinker around and play coast to shore and play with my edges, follow the shoreline and explore around. And I feel like the Sitka XT does that better for me. It's also a little bit deeper, so a little bit more comfortable for my body. Nothing wrong with the Fathom. I love that boat. And if I was in the San Juan Islands where I was doing crossings from bay to bay or island to island, that would be the boat I would choose. But for where I'm at around here in Redding, this is the right tool for the job. I paddle a lot of slow moving rivers, a lot of lakes, just smaller waters that lend itself better to a little bit shorter kayak. Pulling up to our first beach here. We're not going to get out at every beach, but this one in particular is really nice. So I always like to stop here and take in the view and see what the kids are building in these little shelters here. These beaches are one of my favorite things about Whiskeytown Lake. It's a super private, secluded beach. It's got a cliff on this edge, and they're just scattered all the way around the east shore. And you have stuff like this where people have built these little structures, little caves. I've actually waited out a lightning storm in this exact cave, just hunkered down in here while the storm rolled across the lake, up and over the mountains. So anyway, pretty cool area. Bummer to see trash in here. I'll have to come back and pull that out with my canoe or something. Give you guys a glimpse of Whiskeytown here. Just such a pretty area. And then it's got these little picnic benches. So if I'm coming out here for a lunch break or a picnic or a sunset, I can just set up shop, hang out, watch the sun go down over Shasta Valley. Pretty good living. It's good to get out here because I tell you what, being out here is a reminder of just how special it is to get out on the water and have a place like this all to yourself, kind of reset the brain. I feel like everyone's in this mode right now. It's like high tension, high stress. Everyone's hustling to make it all work. And then we lose perspective of times like this and the importance of this for our mental health. At least I should only speak for myself. For me, this is important for my mental health. This is like total just reset button in my life. I can be stressed out, I can be angry, frustrated, overwhelmed, and I can get out here, come for a paddle, sit with my thoughts, and just sort of dials down the anxiety I'm feeling, kind of puts things in perspective. Anyway, I'm sure it does that for a lot of you as well. So I hope this encourages you to make some time to get out, paddle, get that reset for yourself. If you don't have the right gear for winter paddling, I highly encourage you to buy some stuff. Obviously, love it if you support Level 6 because that supports me and my livelihood, but it doesn't really matter. Just get yourself some good dry gear, some appropriate dry gear for your type of paddling, and get out there and enjoy it. See what it's all about. I think you'll find that wintertime some of the best time to be on the water. Anyways, let's get back to the video. I'm always talking about launching and landing techniques because you guys seem interested in it. When I'm launching from a beach like this, mostly because it's rocky, I get out into the water a little bit so I can straddle my kayak. It's got good support. I get my butt kind of in the seat, but not all the way in. So sort of on the seat. And then I get myself out, I can use my paddle for support. Drop my butt in, 1 foot, 2 foot, and I'm ready to go. As opposed to having my boat up on the beach where the keel is in the sand, then the boat can kind of get real tippy, and it's actually a lot harder to get in that way and stay dry. So parallel the beach, legs out, straddle it. And this is how I like to paddle out here, just following the shoreline, working my edges. Beautiful. I don't know if it shows up on camera, but Whiskeytown has this amazing like emerald green water. And you mix that with the white contrast of the sand and the shoreline. It's just beautiful place to kayak. You can see so deep into the water. Kind of like Lake Tahoe, but a little more green. As I smacked this paddle on a rock, I just realized I got a new paddle. I haven't talked about it. This is an Aquabound Tetra. It's got the lamb lock on the end. You can see that. Basically, that's a piece of Kevlar that's stitched all the way around the paddle to protect the ends of the paddle. So foam core, so you get that lightweight, the buoyancy, but you get that lamb lock on the edge, so you can really smack it on a rock and not worry about it. I switched to this paddle because of my shoulder. You know, I mentioned I'm having a little bit of issues, and the little smaller blade, it's also a little lower angle. You know, historically I would paddle more up here. I just don't find myself being as aggressive with this shoulder. I'm trying to keep it low and underneath my shoulder, as opposed to before it was kind of across my chest. And the Tetra is just so light, so buoyant, very easy paddle to get along with for me. It's either this or my Greenland paddle these days, but I've really been enjoying it, and I like the bent shaft they did. The bend is behind the face, so it's kind of a trailing face. So as I'm pulling it, the paddle naturally wants to find its path through the water. There's zero flutter, just very smooth, predictable, and crazy light. I mean, I used to have the carbon Tango, and that paddle is kind of dead to me. I paddled it the other day, and comparatively, it's like so heavy. And I mean, obviously I'm being very spoiled because I realize that's a super nice paddle and most people would be thrilled to have it. But this one is literally so much better. Size-wise, I run a 210 because it is a little lower angle. On the Whiskey, I ran a 205, but 210 feels about perfect where I'm on an easy stroke. I'm getting the whole blade in the water, not any of the shaft, just the blade. And it's a nice neutral angle. The other thing I like about it is it still glides through the water. There's no like abrupt edges, or there's no clunkiness to it. It just slices through the water like a wing. Some paddles, if they have like ridges on the backside, they tend to go and flutter and make noise. This paddle's dead silent, it just slices through the water. So if I'm doing a draw stroke, it just glides, does right what I want it to do. Shallow rocks. It's fine, it's just a brand new boat. Oh well, I got my first scratches in it now. Look at how responsive that boat is. You just put it on an edge, a couple of strokes, it just spins around. That is my favorite thing about the Sitkas, is they are so responsive. If you're paddling and you want to learn some of these skills, you want to learn how to edge turn and to sort of drive with your hips, the Sitka is a great boat to do that in. It's super rewarding. If you put it on edge, engage, use good paddling posture, the boat just responds. Now there's other boats that respond and they're very responsive and very maneuverable, but they don't track. And that's the difference between this boat. If this boat's flat and that shallow arch V is in the water, it goes straight. It goes really, really well. I almost never use the skag unless I'm going downwind. But when I want to turn, just by shifting my weight, I can paddle evenly on both sides, but just by shifting my weight, I can get this boat to steer and to drive exactly where I want it to go. Just with a little bit of initiation. So cool. Now I know a lot of people just paddle it in flat water and they put the skag down and it just goes straight. You know, it works really well for that. But if you really want to get the most out of this boat, learn to use your edges. Initiate those sweeps. It'll just change the way the kayak feels completely. It's like a whole different boat. If you haven't already, go check out Kayaking 102, which is my advanced strokes class. In that video, I touch on a lot of things like edging, sweep strokes, draw strokes, and I'm actually doing it in this exact boat, or my old Sitka XT. So you'll get an idea of kind of how this boat handles and what you need to be doing to get it to come to life. I'll link that up here at the end. Oh man, another just absolutely beautiful cove. We're getting into the fall colors now. Whiskey Town's cool because it's a mixture of evergreen as well as deciduous trees. It's a really pretty place. Another beach here. The white sand and the cool structures. Picnic table. And again, we've only been paddling for 20 minutes, you guys. The cart's right there. So easy to access, yet so rare that people do, especially this time of year. There won't be anybody on this beach for the next 4 months. It could be all yours. Blowing up my own spot over here, but it's for a good cause. I want to see people out here kayak touring and bringing picnic lunch, bringing their family out here to enjoy this. It's kind of crazy, but it doesn't happen more often. I often get the question about the Sitka is, can you roll that boat? And the simple answer is yes. Yes, I can roll it. It's actually not that hard to roll. I have a back rest in mine. They do have a back band option. It is easier with the back band. It's obviously not as comfortable for like all day paddling, but it makes it way more maneuverable. Because of the little bit higher backrest and back of the kayak, it is a little bit more tricky to roll. You're not doing a layback roll is easy. But with that said, it is still doable. Now, I'm not really dressed for that out here today, but maybe I'll just do, dude, I'm so rusty. Let's see if this even works. I'll do some sculling for you guys just to see if I can kind of demonstrate the secondary edge. Bear with me. Oh, it's not too bad. Oh, it feels pretty. Oh, what are you doing over there? Hey. Let's see what this looks like on this side. Oh. Lost my camera mount up there. That's how I talk to you guys. But when I sculled over on my side, the whole thing just tilted over. But look at how pretty this spot is. So is it rollable? Yes, it is. But I've got my phone, my keys, I'm just not rolling today. I don't even have my dry bag with me. All right. You guys stayed up that time. Okay, let's keep cruising. I'm trying to think of what else to say about this boat. I'm so familiar with it that it's like, you know, I just took a phone call a minute ago with my buddy Dave Slover from Alder Creek Canoe and Kayak, and he's like, XT, isn't that a little big for you? And I was like, well, no. And I kind of gave him my reasoning behind it, you know, with my hip situation, the deck height, yada, yada. But I was like, if I scoot this seat all the way up, I'm well engaged. My feet are connected to the foot pedals. I'm like, you know, on the small end of what this boat can handle very comfortably. But it's kind of cool that Eddyline has a boat that at 220, I'm at the low end, but you can also go all the way up to, you know, pretty big people. I've seen somebody in the 280s, 290s in this boat, or 6'6", you know, longer, bigger legs, taller feet, 14s. They all fit in this boat. So it's unique in that way. There's not a bunch of boats in this light touring category that genuinely fit a really tall, larger person. I always like finding these little nooks and crannies in the back, because there's always cool wildlife, like this heron right here. Just absolutely beautiful out here today. So we're gonna start making our way back to the car. I'm trying to think of what else I have to say about this boat. I mean, I don't know if it's as much of a review as it's more of a little history lesson of my experience with the Sitka. You know, I'm a man of many kayaks, right? I have lots of boats, a lot of very cool kayaks, collector's items, as well as, you know, high performance kayaks. And I do love all those boats. But if I'm just gonna go paddle by myself, solo, putzing around like I'm doing now, chances are this is what's on my car. So if that's not a review or an endorsement, I don't know what is. Yes, I do work for Eddyline. Yes, they're part of my paycheck. But long before I worked for Eddyline, I was still paddling a Sitka XT by choice. You know, I was a Sterling dealer. I was a Stellar dealer. You know, so many Dagger. There were so many cool boats in my life through the shop over the years. But time and time again, I just find myself getting back into this boat because I like it. I like it. I think it does a lot of things really well. And I think you're gonna like it too. I said that last comment about I have lots of boats, when would I paddle this? And I got to thinking about it, when would I paddle this? Like, why is it that this ends up on my car? And here's the deal, is if I'm paddling dynamic water and I'm getting aggressive where it's more of an adrenaline sport, I typically will be in like a Dagger Stratos, or I've always loved the Sterling Reflection, just high performance. When I'm in those boats, I'm in a different mindset. I'm like locked in, ready to get rowdy. When I'm in this boat, it's more about being zen. It's more about feeling the water, cruising, relaxing, detuning. That's what the Sitka is to me. It's like having a cup of coffee with an old friend. It just puts me in a happy place that is relaxed, reflective, comfortable. So anyway, I guess I just thought I would add a little color to the conversation. That's why I paddle the Sitka XT. more so than, say, like I have a Dagger Stratos literally parked right next to this on the trailer. I could paddle that too, but I tend to take this out because it's a little bit more comfortable, a little bit faster, a little bit more kind of the flavor I'm looking for this kind of paddling. Hope that helps. If you have any more questions or something I left out, leave them in the comment section below. I'm sure there's so much that I didn't cover. Like, I didn't even really talk about the retractable skag. Anyway, I'm sure I left a lot out. Call me out in the comment section. Let's let this be a conversation. Until next time, you guys, this is Dan wishing you happy paddling. Hope you're getting out, enjoying the water. We'll see you on the next one.